Hi, my name's Kittrick Jeffries. I am the owner and operator of Puffy's Dispensaries here in South Dakota. We mainly operate in the Black Hills for a vertically integrated medical cannabis company, which means that we control everything from seed to sale without any outside influence. We like having total control of all the marijuana through that process. And Puffy is my mom. It's her nickname that my dad gave to her about 30 years ago. It's a story for him to tell you. It's not my place. But at the end of the day, my mom's a breast cancer survivor, and she's the #1 patient in my heart and the reason why I got into marijuana in the first place. And through my adventure and experience in medical marijuana, I did find that there is no difference in adult use marijuana and alcohol. Alcohol kills around 500,000 United States citizens every year, whereas marijuana is zero. There is zero statistics or studies that show that marijuana by itself is causing overdose deaths or anything like that. Willie Nelson once had a famous quote that the only way that you can die from marijuana is if the cartel was flying a plane over your head and they threw a bale of it out of their window and that bale hit you on the head from 30,000 foot. But all jokes aside, you know, we look at marijuana as personal freedoms and liberties. In South Dakota, we're very pro-limited government, and the smallest form of government is self-governance. So who is anyone to tell me what to do with my body on something that's less harmful than alcohol? And that's how I feel for adults over the age of 21. I totally understand that teens and anybody under the age of 21 using marijuana or alcohol is bad for society. I don't think that's right at all, but I'm here to protect kids. And in that note, if you look at the Colorado Healthy Kids Survey, which surveys on a biannual basis 100,000 students, you'll notice that Colorado, through regulation, has decreased their marijuana youth use rate from students kindergarten through 12th grade by at least 12%. And when we're looking at the national average, just 3 days ago on October 28th, 2024, we looked at a study from Florida Atlantic University's College of Medicine that surveyed nationally around 90,000 individuals ages 9th grade through 12th grade. And in 2011, they studied that, they went through that study for 10 years from 2011 to 2021. In 2011, no states had adult use marijuana, but in 2021, almost 24 states, which is what we have today, had adult use marijuana. And in 2011, it was almost at the nation's highest point of marijuana teen use rate at 23.1%. And through regulation, we look at 2021, with 24 states passing adult use marijuana reform, that number has dropped from 23.1 to 16% and lower. And that's really impressive. That's probably why both presidential candidates support regulating marijuana in some form or fashion. You've seen Vice President Kamala Harris, who's the former Attorney General of California, come out in support of national legalization and policymaking. And you've seen recently in the last couple months that former President Donald Trump supports Florida's initiated Constitutional Amendment 3. And both presidential candidates supporting marijuana reform goes to show unity in a divided country. It may be the only issue across both Republican and Democratic platforms where both presidential candidates are supporting the same issue. And that's very awesome that marijuana nationally has bipartisan support. There's over 70% national support in favor of legalizing marijuana at the federal level, and over 60% of United States citizens live in a jurisdiction where marijuana is legal. The doom and gloom from our opposition saying that marijuana is going to turn your city into a slumlords like downtown Colorado or San Francisco, California, is just not true. You have to look at other policies that were put into place by our elected officials in those states. In 2014, when marijuana reform passed through Constitutional Amendment 64 in Colorado, we had a Republican governor, and John Hickenlooper. And John Hickenlooper was the first governor of Colorado to put methadone clinics to help treat addiction in Colorado. And they decided, unfortunately, to put that methadone clinic right in the heart of downtown, just a couple blocks off 16th Street Mall. So as tourists visiting from Rapid City, South Dakota, down to Denver, Colorado, where do we go? We go shopping at 16th Street Mall. We go to the sports stadiums, whether it's the Rockies, the Avalanche, or the Denver Broncos, or we go shopping. And when you have drug addiction centers that are downtown with, unfortunately, homelessness and people that are dealing with the reality of substance abuse of fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine, that's where they'll congregate. It's a causation from this policy that was introduced by Governor Hickenlooper. And then since then, Governor Jared Polis has only increased those methadone clinics, which congregated all of the homeless population in the city center, very similar to Main Street, like Main Street Square in Rapid City, and places tourists and locals like to go. Then that has caused that action versus reaction. Whereas if you're homeless, you, for lack of a better way of saying it, you don't have a lot to lose. So what is it to you if you have a $25 smoking in public ticket? That doesn't necessarily mean anything because you're not going to pay it anyway. And you'll just keep getting eaten up and spit out by the system. And that's an unfortunate way to deal with things and a huge taxpayer waste of law enforcement's time and resources. We need to help these people get help. One of the things that is really beneficial from marijuana reform is that same Colorado notion is that they've raised over $2.3 billion in taxes since implementation until today. And a lot of that money going to drug rehabilitation centers. So I'm hoping that they can find the help that they need to help get off more harmful substances, fentanyl, methamphetamine, and heroin. But the one thing that our law enforcement officials don't talk about is the $700 million that's appropriated to schools. And that's very wonderful. The first $100 million annually in Colorado goes to the BEST program. And the BEST program exclusively builds new schools and does reconstruction on existing schools in all of Colorado. And if you could imagine living here in Rapid City, South Dakota, Wilson School that's existed for a long, long time, still to this day does not have air conditioning. That's something that I would really appreciate and hope for that marijuana tax revenue in South Dakota could get appropriated to. Looking at the national studies, marijuana teen use is down. That's absolutely wonderful. The only thing is that we want to protect kids, and the way to do that, and I agree with former President Trump and I agree with Vice President Kamala Harris, is through regulation. That's why we urge everybody to vote yes on Initiated Measure 29.